Hello Ravers, I'm Brawlers and welcome to the Electric DM10, a mini-series for the DJs and producers that have carried their names into the journey of sound for at least a decade and more. During the time of this recording and posting, the project being covered is still in the professional EDM scene, creating bangers, touring/performing, or both. As the world of electronic music has countless DJs and producers, many qualify for the 10 plus year streak series. Being in the EDM industry for this amount of time is no easy task, let alone in the professional environment. With that said, this series of videos will briefly cover the project, the members, and tours/travels. Most importantly, the music that got these projects the impactful recognition for listeners and the fans of the thousands, millions, and in some cases, billions. For a project to qualify in this series, the following must be met. First, 10 plus years of the project name being active. Important note, the project name cannot change to a completely different name. Second, at least one main headlining tour or direct support tour of the project's time. Special cases can qualify. And third, must have a minimum of 3 EPs, 1 album, and or several songs/remixes published. A special note, the project name can have a time of taking a break from the scene due to health/unfortunate circumstances, as long as the creator of the project doesn't confirm the end of such project in less than 10 years. Now, with that out of the way, on to the 11th episode of the Electric DM10. Hey! Well, I had to stretch there for a little bit. Seems to me that this episode of the Electric DM10 is yet another challenging one, as not a lot of info can be hunted down for this one. When I search for the information of the DJ, producer, or both, I do my best to not look into other people's documentaries, the forums, any videos whatsoever. However, it seems to me it doesn't hurt to gather from multiple sources or from one and paraphrase it all to make it your own little style of work. You know what I mean? Plus, some of the info is just difficult because, well, there's hardly any info out there unless you talk to the specific DJ and producer yourself. I'm going to do my best with this one right here. And as I told him personally, I would do a documentary on his music and his journey. And it's going to be none other than Ivory. Yep, it's going to be none other than Ivory. Hey, let me say the Ivory. All right, that's enough for you. All right, shush. Here we go with Ivory. No, not the color. Why am I looking at an elephant's tusk? There you are. Andy Caboche. I believe that's how you say his name. Forgive me if I mispronounce your last name. It's just, I'm terrible with names. Andy Caboche, also known as Ivory, is a dubstep and electronic producer based from France, mainly Paris. Ivory has experience creating dubstep and into the subcategory of the trench style of dubstep, aka rhythm, along with drum and bass, a bit of house, and mid-tempo music. So let's see what Andy has been through, what he's doing now, and what he's gonna be in the near future. Here we go. Within the early years, Andy, no, not that Andy. All right, there we go. His early times, he was just another regular human being in this world, just looking forward to the weekend, seeing what he can do for fun, and just getting back to work. He was just passing his time in his home country, mainly in his city, with friends that he had in those youngster years. One in particular introduced him to making beats and introduced him to Reason 5, which is a digital audio workstation. This is where Andy really got interested in doing his own music production shenanigans, just throwing random sound effects and crafting them to his own style, and to see where it goes from there. As Ivory started to dabble more and more into creating music with Reason 5, he got so interested that he went home and then downloaded software on his mom's computer to take it into his own hands and ears. This right here was the birth of Andy's journey into sound. Surprisingly, Andy admits it in an interview as he was making beats and messing around with the DAW. He was introduced into dubstep by another friend of his. And here's where the surprise went even higher to me when he admitted himself in a certain interview, which I will have the link in the EDM box below. Ivory was not a fan of dubstep at all. As he even escalates this backing, he describes the noises of dubstep to be too aggressive and weird. Something like how a regular person who has never dived into the sounds of dubstep or even the dubstep genre in general and its subcategories, you allow that person to listen, they will just look at you going, "This is the type of music you hear?" That's how Ivory was thinking when he was hearing dubstep for the first time. Well, in the early 2010s, Andy went to one of the first festivals to be introduced into the dubstep scene. And this right here was the beginning of Andy's dubstep mindset. Ivory even saw Dirty Phonics perform in that festival. For Dirty Phonics to still be around making music, this is nuts to think about. However, for Andy's bright mind to jump in and make the dubstep, this was not an easy ride. He, as a matter of fact, almost gave up in trying to make the music due to how complex it was to understand and grasp with how to approach creating that type of music, especially in the early 2010s when YouTube was still in the golden era of content creation. On top of that, his language barrier in wanting to find tutorials with making dubstep in French made it even more frustrating for Ivory at the start. With Brazilians and with just messing around, about a year or so of constantly trying, he was getting to a point in where he can finally say, "Now I'm making something interesting." He even claims that his passion in making the music came at the right time. Going forward into the mid to late 2010s, Ivory started to have really good recognition with his music, and it started with a tune that you would not expect. This song is called "I Will Not Miss You." The producer AFK messaged him, reposted the song, and it started a chain of a significant audience traction to Ivory style. Speaking of style, one of his well-known signature songs, 93 Style, really popped off on SoundCloud when he uploaded to his page. In no time, the record label of Disciple hit him up for a deal, and it was struck. More and more songs were being posted and signed left and right. However, a fun and unique collab was about to go down with two producers, one of them being a legendary basketball player who is now retired and has joined the dubstep world. Shaquille O'Neal, aka DJ Diesel, and Needy with the song Mosh Pit is, in my personal opinion, a fun signature collab, and in fact, here is the song being featured at Academy LA. So, how did all this happen? Needy and Ivory have collaborated in the past, but out of nowhere, months later, Needy just calls Ivory and says, "Hey, you interested in doing a collab work with Shaquille O'Neal?" Of course, there's no way he would say no to this opportunity. To this day, he is an underrated producer that is still well recognized and has done various travels to make his sets and sound known that he is still not only throwing down, but is acting like a student, constantly looking for any way to improve his craft. This can be from other well-known DJs and producers to even someone who hardly has any followings, but has a unique way in crafting the sounds that this producer did. So he would like to take this little bit of information, implement it to his own workflow, and see where it goes from there. Talking about travels, let's see where he has been. The tours and travels that Ivory has been a part of are numerous, from his home country to the neighboring European countries, and even in the US. Ivory has done his fair share of travels thanks to the opportunities and events he was a part of. These include his main headlining tour, just like this clip right here, in Los Angeles with Hostage Situation, to being direct support and even a part of major festivals like Lost Lands and Rampage Music Festival. Well, let's see the following that he has on the two important music pages, shall we? First up is going to be the SoundCloud page, and this right here is going to be for March of 2025. He has a total of 49.6 thousand followers, along with a total of 61 tracks. And I just noticed this. There's free downloads that he has. What the heck? Aside from noticing something else way down here that I am going to be pointing at the screen. A fun little thing right here. And let's get into the Spotify. For his Spotify, he has 151, almost 152,000 monthly listeners. Let's just say 150K plus. Well, with that out of the way, let's go into some of the fun facts. But let me jump in real quick to the SoundCloud, because here's where the first fun fact takes place. He has a sample pack that is called Outer Space Sample Pack, and it's going to be just right here. It's volume 3. I'll have to check that out in a few moments. Kabochit I really need to know how to pronounce this. Like I said, I'm terrible with names. Was a part of the duo The Wizards along with his partner in crime, Sean Long. However, he hasn't been active since February of 2016, which I'm going to give a random but reasonable and educated guess that this duo project is no more. He was, and maybe still is, a PlayStation gamer. Just like me for real. Side note for myself, I'm easing away bit by bit in gaming. All right, back to Ivory. As he was starting out and making the music, he enjoyed being a carpenter, mainly doing the woodwork side of creating stuff. Ivory used to post these little snippets of teasers called clips on SoundCloud as he was starting up. This was a good attention grabber at the time for listeners to stick around for what's to come once the full version of the song was officially released. Now, as of the mid 2020s, Ivory has stated it's oversaturated to do this for your SoundCloud page. During a collaboration with Needy and DJ Diesel, he was so pumped for being a part of the song that he wrote the drop in one day. Yeah, no joke. Some of Ivory's biggest obstacles was to understand mixing and sound design. In the video interview of the Industries Set YouTube channel for the first 5 years, he mentions of how he was just throwing sound effects and doing basic mixes that worked to his favor. And Andy says that there's so much to learn, he doesn't know how to implement that in his flow sometimes. Andy also mentions with his creative mindset of trying to go off the straight line and to have no rules when it comes to making the music. Instead of trying to figure out a melody on a synth, he would create samples, and with the right amount of them, like say, for example, 5 to 10, he would then randomize and go for an approach to make a drop or a melody of a blueprint on a sample pack instead of figuring it out and get stuck to have a folder that will never be opened again. Another fun thing that he also adds is to stop overthinking so much with making the music and use less distortion. And one pinpoint advice before getting off the fun facts topic: surround yourself with like-minded people in creating the music and going out there to get those ideas going for your vision with those that are willing to support you. They will go a long way. Well, with the fun facts done, let's jump into the collabs and more. With his collaboration journey, there are a multitude of them, which includes various Disciple members, and they can go with Dirty Phonics, E-Craze, Graffits, Samplifier, Dodge and Fusky, Virus Syndicate, and more. HYTYD, I'm not sure how to pronounce all that, and Max, Company, Shivers, of course, Shaq, DJ Diesel, Needy, and more. The record label submissions go by the following: Never Say Die, Disciple and Disciple Roundtable, Good Vibrations, Bygore, Dark Room, Geffen Records, Busted Records, and I also forgot to include Monster Cat, which he has submitted, along with other record label submissions. Time to jump into the discography Ravers for Ivory's works that he has done from the mid 2010s up until now. Some of the originals and remixes that Ivory has done go by the following: I Will Not Miss You, that AFK ended up finding out about Ivory. A remix that he has done for Spaghetti with Jock, 93 Styles with Virus Syndicate, submitting it into Knights of the Round Table, Volume 1 with Disciple Roundtable. Ivory, along with Samplifier, creating All You Need to Know, their version of the remix for Griffin and Slander, one of his now modern pop-offs with Jackpot, collaborating with Company. And how can I forget that one of his signature songs is Next Level VIP, and Next Level version of 2024. The EPs, on the other hand, he has a multitude of them. So let's see what he's got. Hacked EP for 2017, Termination EP for 2018, Dead Space EP for 2020, Beast EP in 2021, and Bleep Boop on the same year. Finally, Steel Ring for 2024. And also forgot to mention about the Next Level EP for 2018 and 2024's remix collection. I'm not sure if he's calling this one an EP or an album because there's a fair amount of producers that put their submissions for this particular extended play. No official albums, but as mentioned earlier with the Next Level collection, which includes these producers: Sanzu, Hammerhead, Thrasha, Ruvolo, and more. Finally, going into the personal recommendations, if anyone is wanting to see what Ivory has cooked up throughout the years, let me introduce you to some of my personal favorite songs. Game Over. Oh, how could I forget about Game Over? Le Club, Paris to London, and Sea Turtle, which these are officially from his songs and his remixes of All You Need to Know, Heartbreak, What the Fuck, Jock, 93 Styles, both the original and VIP, and the Next Level, both the original and VIP. My last thoughts, not too much is coming into mind other than I was very fortunate to see Ivory in the 1720 warehouse in Los Angeles, and this was for, I would say, $22 ish. I got it at a pretty fair deal, and parking was free. Definitely had to say hi to him after he did his set. Yes, I was hanging out with a couple of girls. One of them was interested in knowing me a bit more, but unfortunately that never happened. Still follows me, which is actually surprising. And I remember speaking to him saying that I was going to do a documentary in his name, and hopefully this will suffice with the information I was able to gather from one video. Shout outs to the industry's set video that he placed out. This is also going to be in the EDM box below, as I mentioned earlier. That'll wrap up. Oh, and there's going to be a photo of me with Ivory, and that was a nice touch to it. That will conclude the Electric DM10 for Ivory. Let me know if you, Ravers, have seen Ivory before. What is your favorite song from Andy's works? And is there any hopes that you're going to be seeing Ivory in the future? Hopefully, if he's around LA, I know I will, for a second round. Although I would like to hear some of his old stuff. A lot of his new stuff that he is creating is going to be impacting a little bit harder than, let's say, the 93 Styles or his remix of Jock that he did for Spaghetti. That concludes the 11th episode of Electric DM10. Thank you, Ravers, for your patience when I end up doing these type of videos for at least like once a month. I gotta work on making them at least 2, if not 3 times a month. I'm gonna try for 2. All of Ivory's social media pages and music pages will be in the EDM box below, along with my social medias that will be in the EDM box below. That's the Ravers. Lastly, keep listening, stay safe, and rave on.